you. Okay, so I'm here in Raleigh with Danielle. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I wanted to start, I'm going to read something that you said that sparked a really good conversation, and that's sort of where I want to start. You said, that's what foreign blacks really don't understand. We can tell you are not DACS. We can. They think because they are such heavy participants and spectators of our culture with dark skin that they have us down pat. Like you were raised by immigrants who have an entirely different culture from us. They're really out here thinking we have no essence and sense of self. I can have a conversation with someone and know they are not Black American in so many ways. Doesn't matter how much mimicking they do. And someone else had said, this is so true. When I lived in Boston, there were mostly foreign blacks that I encountered, and it felt so different being around them versus the DACS I grew up with in Chicago. And then a lot of people just started kind of like getting into conversations about that. Somebody else said, am I the only one who thinks that you can't tell CAs, Continental Africans, and BAs, Black Americans apart? Narrative is totally false. Yes, the fuck you can. Maybe to the whites we all look and act alike, but she said, I know they think we're stupid, but come on, sis. We've been peeped when they walk through the door. And I responded to that person. I was like, you're not the only one. Apparently, it needs to be addressed. Because everyone is saying, yes.
Yeah, and they really think,
yes,
we don't know the difference.
Yes.
And I would go as far as to say, white people know the difference. Mm-hmm. Like, they know the difference. So if they know the difference, if you're from a country and you're immigrating to a different country, and you're going to try to find a space to fit into,
right?
What space is the easiest? And it just so happened that our culture is pop culture. Mm-hmm. So it's like they definitely understand. And for people to say like, oh, well, the girls say we're all American or whatever, I'm just as Black American. No, you're not.
You're not.
Like, your food is different. Right. Your culture is different. The way your parents raise you and talk to you is different.
Right.
Like, and that kind of thing we can definitely tell. And especially with me, being from the South, even though majority of my family, like every other Black family, the Great Migration, all my family is basically in the Bronx. So, but being in the South, there aren't any foreign Black. I mean, there are, but they stay so separated. You don't really, growing up, we didn't really see them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I can tell the difference. Like, you're literally not, you didn't grow up the way I grew up.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really interesting because that is a narrative that we sort of see pushed. It's just like, yeah, like, I am just as Black American as you are. Like, just because you're Black in America,
right?
It's like that translates into you are exactly the same as a descendant of American chattel slavery, which I just find to be like wildly offensive. Like, how is that even something that's okay to say? Like, I could not move to Nigeria and be like, I'm Nigerian, I'm just as Nigerian as all you niggas, and I can totally participate in everything and all the culture, despite the fact that literally none of my family, and especially if we even start getting into like the tribes and like the tribal differences and stuff, none of my family is in any of those tribes. I don't know any of the customs. I don't know anything about the culture. I don't know anything about it. But that's like if I think just because I watched it on TV or I read a book about it or anything, that I could just go there and be like, I'm just as Nigerian as you are. Maybe if I change my name, the only thing that keeps us apart is that I have a different name from you. So if I change my name, and they don't even like that when people like pick like made up like names and stuff like that, like. And that's not even just Nigerians, but like a lot of like continental Africans, they don't even like it because they'd be like, you don't even know like what the names mean and what like the significance. Right. But it's just like, but it's totally acceptable for them to say to us, the only thing that keeps us separate is like, oh, my name, like maybe my last name like sounds Nigerian or something like that. But aside from that, we are totally the same. I've been here forever. I went to school, which I also find that to be offensive because if you are an immigrant or the children of immigrants, you have not been here forever. The descendants of American chattel slavery have literally been here forever because American chattel slavery even like predates the Revolutionary War. So like we've been here since before this country was even this country. So it's like, how are you going to say you've been here forever, you just as Black American as me, like taking all this ownership and taking up all this space and saying that, oh, there's absolutely no difference and that no one can tell the difference when it seems like we can tell the difference.
We can definitely tell the difference. And even like I was saying, watching Get Out, when I went back and watched it, like I could tell by his mannerisms and stuff that the way he they tried to like, especially like a lot of British immigrants and stuff, like they'll try to use our slang, and he was like saying my man and all of this. Even his interaction with the black lady was like, well, the supposed black lady was like, that's not even how we would even interact with another person. And the way he was sitting back in this, it's like you're trying too hard to do what you saw on TV, that you're coming off just like a white person does it.
I was just about to say, so like, is that cultural appropriation? Is it the same?
If they say me wearing a dashiki is cultural appropriation, then that's cultural appropriation. So not that I wear dashikis anyway.
I don't wear dashikis either.
But if I did, it's like, and then I had somebody reply to me on a comment saying, oh, I think this girl was Jamaican, and she was basically saying how our Black American culture is second to Caribbeans. And I'm like, how is that even, is your culture from like exported? How is that even possible?
I mean, I just feel like, who even cares? It's like, what's weird to me about that is like, you have these people that feel like they in some type of a competition with us, that they in some type of imaginary competition with Black Americans. I'm not in no. I really don't care. I don't think about you. I don't care about you.
But is that why they're upset?
I think
because we're used to white people taking our culture, and we just make something else. You take it, we make something else, and you're not the ones who's making this culture. You just happen to be Black. You just happen to be in dark skin, and even for them to just say, we're all Black, but we're not. We're the ones who are called Black. And when you refer to a foreign Black person as Black, they automatically assume you're saying they're American.
Right. So
they're quick to tell you what country they're from.
Right.
And if you're telling your boss, say, what country you're from, you're getting benefits from being non-American.
Yeah. And the flip side of even what you just said is that when you tell them they're not Black American, they say, oh, so you're trying to say that I'm not Black, or you're challenging my Blackness. Like, there's really whatever this link is between an idea of Blackness and being a Black American, that when you tell them they're not Black American, it's like they get offended, they get insulted, they don't like it. And also something interesting to me about the whole, like, well, we're all the same, we look the same, we act the same. Something you said that I've also thought is that, again, it kind of like, it erases and it doesn't take into account not only just the history that we as descendants of American chattel slavery do have in this country that they just don't have. You don't have that history. You have the history of, wherever you're from. Right. So it's just like the history, the ethnicity, the heritage, because ethnicity is pretty much described as like culture, like shared culture, which is why they say that like Latinx or Hispanic is an ethnic group, not a race, because it's like shared culture. So that's in terms of if Black American or DACS is its own ethnicity, that means, again, yes, we have our own culture, we have our own way of walking, we have our own way of talking, we have our own foods, and even within our own, there's like all this regional differences, way of speaking and slang, and again, like dress and all this stuff, our culture, upbringing, like you said, the way our parents raised us, the way our parents talk to us. Like, we do have our own thing, and they have their own thing, and there is a difference. And honestly, to me, it's even confusing. Like, do people really genuinely believe in their heart of hearts when they say these things like, well, I'm just as a Black American as you, there's no difference between us? You really think that we don't have just in terms of like cultural differences? Yeah. Because when it comes time to make fun of Black Americans and talk about the food and the music, and like what you even just said, how the girl said to you, like, well, Jamaican culture is better. Like, so you have, you like you said, like, you have an understanding. Yeah. But it's only when they're being called out for something, like, oh, is this appropriate? Or, is this cultural appropriation, or what's up with you getting this job or this role in this movie? Like, why is it a continental African playing Harriet Tubman? Now all of a sudden we're all the same. Nobody could tell the difference. But it's like even the infrastructure can tell the difference because we're treated differently by the infrastructure, by the school systems, by the government, by the jobs. We are treated differently. So in terms of the infrastructure, the white oppression, we're seen differently. And even amongst ourselves, we're seen differently. And like in Black Panther, for example, there was even that joke where they're in the room and they're like, oh, there's like 5 Americans or 6 Americans. And there's always jokes about like American, like that they can tell we're American, but we're not allowed to say, I can tell that you're Nigerian.
Or I can tell that you're not American.
Right, or I can tell that you're not American. Now it's xenophobic or something like that. Like, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Gaslighting. And also, like, that's where it comes into play that, you know, they understand that we're the foundation to their success. Right. Because without us, you wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
Right.
And you wouldn't have a neck to stand on.
Right.
So.
And you said that earlier. You had said, I wrote it down, you were like, that they get so offended because they know, you said they know if we start backing away from them, what that means.
Yeah. Because that means they're going to have to, because their entire existence in America is wrapped around us.
Right.
Because and I don't know if that was something that the system itself is doing that, like, or if it's them. If they come and feel the need to, you know, fit in, but they can't fit in being with white people. So they're going to try to fit in with the people that they look like, which is all good if you were as inclusive as you think you are. Because to me, Black America, even growing up, not being around, you know, that many foreign Black people, like, I mean, it wasn't really a thought in my mind as to that, you know, that, but obviously culturally we were different, but it's like I wasn't raised to think that I was better or that you were better or worse or whatever the case may be. But it's just, I don't know, the whole thing is weird.
Yeah, I do feel like in a lot of other, and this isn't even just like, you know, foreign Blacks or anything like that. I do think in a lot of other cultures, people are raised in their cultures to like actively look down on like Black Americans.
And I hate when they act like they know they're not. Yeah. Because even my friends that's like Jamaicans and Caribbeans and stuff like that, you know, they are taught by their parents that, you know, when we get here, when we go to America, make sure you're separating yourself. Don't be like the Black Americans, the lazy Black Americans that's over there. But then they indulge themselves in our culture so much that you think you're entitled to it. And you think, and then get offended when we try to put caution tape, you know, around our culture the way you guys do. Because if I go to Nigeria, if I go to Ghana and start saying, oh, I'm Ghanaian or I'm Nigerian, and we're not different. Yeah, we're the same. If my last name wasn't an English last name or whatever, you would be like,
it's a little bit ridiculous. I even want to say, like, this shirt, shout out to Detroit versus Everybody. I got this shirt in Detroit at the Detroit versus Everybody store. Detroit is like the originator of this slogan and also this shirt design, and now it's been like all different types of like variations of this shirt that has been going around, which is funny because someone actually said to me the other day, they were like, oh, did you see like that whole little crew of Nigerians that's like in the media? They had like took a picture recently that said like Africa versus Everybody with like the same design and everything, and somebody was like, see, they can't even have their own shit then, like, even their own shit about Africa versus Everybody they got from Detroit versus Everybody. Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to Detroit versus Everybody. I got this shirt in Detroit at the store. So it's just like, it's an interesting thing. I'm going to ask you something. This might be a little bit controversial. So like controversial trigger warning. Do you think that we look different from them in terms of like phenotype? Yes. You think so?
Yes.
People be like, you can't say that.
Yes. So even when like, I can't even really pinpoint what it is. Maybe it's the bone structure, because even, I don't want to say anything too like mean,
you might as well say
but
it.
Even like,
that's what I said, it's like controversial. So let's go for it. Let's do it.
Definitely their bone structure is a little bit different from ours. And I would say we look more, I mean, I guess it has a lot to do with slavery, because Caribbean people look more like we do. Where I can't really tell the difference always. But definitely continental Africans, they're definitely different. Even if they're lighter skin, it's like, especially in their eyes, like they have a different tint in their, like, I don't know what the white part of your eyes are called, but they look totally different. Like the girl that said, she's a lady, but that said, if you change my last name and we were walking down the street or whatever, you wouldn't know I would. You don't look American. You look like a continental African, whatever, Nigerian or whatever, wherever she's from. Like it's a difference in the way we look.
And you know what I think is also funny about that, getting sort of also back to like the way that we are raised, right? We're kind of like weird about saying that, like how I even said like it's controversial to say, and you were like, I don't want to like whatever. But I have also seen continental Africans be like, and they don't have no shame in their game.
Right.
They will be like, I can even tell the difference in tribes. I can tell the difference in different types of people in Africa.
Why is it so bad offensive when we do it?
I can look at you and be like, Igbo tribe. I could look at that person and be like, Yoruba tribe. I could look at that person and be like, Xhosa tribe. They say like that. They look that they look different, and they could tell the difference. But again, I don't know if it's just this idea, if like everybody has really bought into this American idea of the melting pot, where, I don't know, people really think that they moved to America and some type of like magic happens, some type of transformation occurs. They pass through, what is it, the island, Ellis Island. They pass through the golden arches, and the magical fairy dust is sprinkled on them. They like really bought into like this propaganda. Like the magical fairy dust is sprinkled on them, and like now everybody's all the same, and we're all equal, and everybody has equal opportunity. And again, just like that, America is like the most fantastic place where everybody just comes and everybody's an immigrant and everybody could just like take whatever they want, which is white colonizer rhetoric, which I keep saying, like that is a white colonizer idea, that is white colonizer propaganda, that anybody can come to America and take whatever they want and be whatever they want. Like I guess it's like a nice thought, but we have to like examine where that comes from. And again, like why as Americans now is it taboo for us to say certain things that it's fine for other people to say? Because I agree with you. I feel like I can also tell the difference. I feel like I feel like in terms of the way that, I mean, I think I can tell the difference in general just from like the difference in culture and ethnicity and talking, walking, dressing, mannerisms, food, slang, all that I can tell. Like I've said previously, if somebody tells me like that they eat mangoes or plantains, I immediately be like, okay, so where are you from? If you're from the United States, chances are you either live in New York, Florida, population or California. Like if you're not from one of those three places, you probably did not, and you're Black and you're a descendant of American chattel slavery, you probably did not grow up eating those things.
Mangoes and I had never heard of plantain. I never heard of plantain
until I was a whole adult.
Me too.
Like 22 years old, and somebody was like, and I was living in New York. And somebody was like, you never had a plantain? And I was like, no, it looks like a banana. Is it a banana? And they were like, no, not really. It's not like a banana, And then I ate it. I was just like, oh, it's so starchy. It tastes like dirt. It tastes like a dirt banana. And they got so offended. And I was just like, I mean, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not trying to like offend your culture. They take it like so personal. I'm not trying to like offend your culture, but that's how it tastes to me. Like we don't grow up eating that kind of stuff. And then I also feel like in addition to that, I do also agree that we look different from them. And I kind of feel like myself as well. I also somewhat feel like West Indians look a little bit different from us also, because Caribbeans and or West Indians, they have a substantial amount of East Indian blood in them.
That's true.
Which is why it's even called West Indies. They have a lot of Indo blood. They have a lot of intermixing. Like we've been talking a lot about like Trinidad, for example, which has a full 50% of like the population in Trinidad. Their whole 50% of their demo is Indo. It's like East Indian. It's not no type of Black, no Afro, nothing. It's like straight East Indo. And then you have like the other half, which are Black people. They are you have Indo-Trinidadians and you have Afro-Trinidadians. In Guyana, there are so many Indo-Guyanese people. Like last year, I went to Caravana in Toronto, and like the vast majority of the Guyanese people, they do not look black. They don't have no type of black phenotype. They don't have no type of black features. They look Indian. So there's like a strong Indian population, and so there's like a lot of intermixing. And when I say Indian, I don't mean indigenous, because I know there's going to be people that's like, you shouldn't say that. I literally mean like from India, like East Indians. So I would say that like with Caribbeans, West Indians, they have more of like a white, black, Indian
kind of
mix to them.
I guess the undertones of their skins
are a little bit different. I feel like they also, a lot of people in the Caribbean can skew a little bit lighter because of that, and just a little bit more like overall like ambiguous looking, like more racially ambiguous looking. And
like even if they're brown skin, they kind of have
features.
Like
the features look a little even if they're brown skin or darker skin, because a lot of people. Time out. A lot of people also seem confused about racial ambiguity. A lot of people seem to think racial ambiguity is just light skinned. No, racial ambiguity is not just light skinned. You can be brown or dark skin and still have racially ambiguous features, or features that fit into a more like ethnocentric standard of beauty, which I was talking about with somebody else in terms of like, let's say a straighter nose,
eye color.
Eye color. You have like green, green eyes. That now you're obviously brown, black, but you do have green eyes. Now you're green
until
eyes.
somebody see my eye color, and then you're not regular.
Right, now you're racially ambiguous. That's why you wear glasses all the time.
They're prescription, but no.
God forbid if you have
it's
like
a recessive gene. It's not anything to brag about.
Right. God forbid if you also have like hair straightened and the green eyes out. Come on. So people seem confused about that, because I've seen a lot of people say like, this person is so dark, how can you say they're racially ambiguous? And I'd be like, look at their facial features.
Like the girl that was in the what's his name? The Humble video. Was that Humble? Was that his song?
Kendrick Lamar.
She was maybe a little bit lighter than me, and
she looked Asian.
She's dark, but she look like, and it's a lot of I don't know. People act like they don't understand because they're trying to like justify their feelings. That's all it is.
But then it's like, and it's sort of, you start getting into these like sort of interesting conversations, because people will be like, oh, well, like if you think that like racial ambiguity amounts to like light skin, for example.
Right.
And so then you say like, well, light skinned people are all racially ambiguous.
Right.
Or they all look mixed, or they all look biracial. Which is not true. It's like, but I could have like, again, we started off talking about like West Indians and Caribbeans and stuff. So if I have somebody like Tatiana Ali, who's Panamanian, right? Central American, Caribbean, however you want to take that, who has some more, racially ambiguous features in terms of she does have a lot of Indo blood in her
hair.
So the straight black hair. So she is darker skinned, but if you put her up against somebody like, let's say J. Cole, who is in fact biracial, right? And is light skinned, but got like head full of nappy hair, big ass nose, brown eyes. It's like, you can't tell me that J. Cole is automatically the more racially ambiguous one just because he's light skinned. And you also can't tell me that Tatiana Ali is automatically the less racially ambiguous one just because of skin color. There's a lot of other things that we have to start taking into account. But I think people just don't. I don't know, they just don't want to have that conversation, or I think it's hard. I think people like things to be easy. And they like to think in terms of these like binaries of like, this or that. It's either this or it's that. And if it doesn't sort of fit into that box of thinking, they just like cannot.
Don't talk about it.
And they can't comprehend it. And I agree. I feel like Caribbeans look for the most part, they look a certain way.
Certain Caribbeans, because like even the Virgin Islands, they look more black. Jamaicans, they look less racially ambiguous, I should say. And Jamaicans, they look less racial. They look more. And then that's a nationality. It's not actually a race. So it's like,
and there's a lot of like Chinese in Jamaica. So it's definitely, I think you can start playing around with phenotype. Like some Caribbeans can look like this. Again, some Black Americans, as descendants of American chattel slavery, the vast majority of us, I feel like I always use this statistic, because when I read it, it like blew my mind. These researchers, they did a study. They studied like various generations of Black Americans for like 30 years. Like they studied them, and they found that your average Black American, descendant of American chattel slavery, has 16 to 25% white in them, like white blood, white genetic makeups. So even if you have Black mom, Black dad, Black on both sides, as far back as you know, which for most of us is only until about like great grandparents.
Yeah.
On average, we all have like 16 to 25%. So that's you can't tell me that's not gonna have an effect on how we look.
And that's even if we're dark skinned, we still have, features that's different from, indigenous people in Africa or whatever.
However they want to be called.
I don't know.
Maybe
just
like
worrying about how don't
call us foreign Blacks, don't call us continental
like
Africans.
You're in a foreign country and you're the one bragging about your flag and wherever you're from. So it's like, you're a foreigner.
Somebody tried to explain it to me as, they said that's rude because they feel like in the United States, foreign has a negative connotation. But you know what I said? I was like, and I feel like this is something that happens so much, and I keep talking about it. I was like, you're getting Black America confused with white America. Now maybe rednecks, white American rednecks be like, the damn foreigners and the Arabs and the Middle Easterners and like all that stuff. I was like, but in Black America and in the Black community, my whip's foreign, my bitch foreign, my money foreign, everything in my house is foreign. We go on vacation to foreign countries. Like, foreign does not, right? Like,
let's be serious. Even you said, like, my grandmother was white, could be white passing when she was alive, and like,
rest in peace.
Was that you? Something I read said like, something about the grandma was taking them to the fair, and like they would let them in. The white people would let them in if they act like they
were foreign. Yeah, somebody did say that. Like they were foreigners.
Right. It's the same concept of them hiring foreign Black people to play Black American parts. You don't have that big slave jaw sign.
Right. In terms of Blackness, and especially in terms of Blackness in America, and even the way that white people relate to Blackness in America, and the way that we relate to each other in terms of Blackness in America, foreign is seen as a good thing. It's not seen as a bad thing. Yeah. So I don't know where they getting these ideas from, or if this is just narratives that have always been taught and that people are just not willing to change their minds or whatever. I really don't fucking know, to be honest. I could not tell you. But like I just feel like that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I really do. And even like within Black Americans, because for so long we sort of been brainwashed into thinking, again, like we not shit, we don't have shit. That old joke of, I'm not just regular Black, I got Indian in my family, I got this in my family, that in my family. There has historically always been a connotation of foreign is good, exotic is good, Native American is good, being mixed is good, being everything except what you are.
But how would they know that? They're not American. We're different. They wouldn't know. Like people, and like literally growing up, that's all we heard. Oh, I have Indian. My grandfather will. Like
I told my mom I'd never be like any of the rest of those Negroes.
So it's just like really, and then I'm really realizing that the oneness that we thought is strictly an American thing. Yeah. Like I can go to be from North Carolina, I can go to California, any state in this country, and can be in a situation and we can exchange looks and have an entire conversation with, like, I'm starting to feel like that's just an American thing.
I think it is too, to be honest with you.
Where I can be with a complete stranger in an airport, wherever, that another Black person, and we know, we like understand. It's a level of things that we understand because at the end of the day, we all from the South and migrated wherever. So
that's
even
part
like
of our ethnicity.
The memes, the like Thanksgiving with Black families and all of this different stuff. Like any Black American person descendant of slavery in this country, first of all, that's ours. Getting invited to the cookout. You can't get an invite to a cookout.
I hate when people
if the word
say that.
Cookout isn't even a word in your language. Like it's not even. So it's like, I'm starting to realize that's just us.
Yeah. And even with those memes, people be like, well, we did this in my household too. We did. Nobody was talking to you. Nobody cares what you did in your household too. We don't care. We're not, again, that's more of this like, this invisible competition, whatever this competition.
Like that, we're like not even in.
Yeah, we don't care what you did in your households. Okay, that's nice. I remember one time on Tumblr, this was like years ago, but I feel like I will never forget this. Somebody had made a post that was like all Black Americans know this, or like, you're not Black if you don't like know these songs. And it was just like a bunch of like songs like, you know, like The Boy Is Mine, Brandy, Monica, like a bunch of like songs. And a lot of people was like, and it was just like a fun spirited post. And people were like reblogging it and like adding songs like The Electric Slide. Like, you know that. Like, you came out of the womb knowing The Electric Slide. Like, it's electric. No copyright, please, for that. But somebody had like reblogged it and put like, well, as a non-American Black person, I don't know any of these songs, and I'm still Black, and it's not fair that y'all always trying to leave us out and this. And I was just like, it's not that serious.
It's because our culture is pop culture, and our people have such easy access to our culture that they think we understand it as our culture. I think to a certain level, they understand it's our culture. So when we start, how do you feel left? But
exactly. How do you feel left out?
Right. How do you feel left out of a culture that's not yours?
Right.
Because they have so much access to it.
Right. And entitlement.
And they feel like they are entitled to whatever we have. But again, I can't let me put on some kind of headdress or garb or something, and you're gonna be praying to the gods or whatever. I
don't even have those type of feelings. It's like, I like weddings. I think weddings are just like really pretty, and like they're like my thing. I don't know. And so let's say that, and I like to look even like on Instagram and stuff at the way that people have weddings like in other countries. People have like different wedding traditions. A lot of like, for example, like East Indian weddings can be like really beautiful with the henna, and like I would never partake in that because it's not my culture. I think a lot of like Nigerian weddings are like really, really, really
they have
beautiful,
really nice weddings,
and they do like really elaborate. But it's like, when I see, for example, a Nigerian wedding and like all the people participating are Black, I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm like, you guys are going out of I don't be like leaving comments. Like, you guys are going out of your way to leave out American Blacks with your customs, and we're Black too, and it's not fair, and why do you guys have to do this? It's weird. It's like weird. It's like such a weird thing to say. It's like such a weird mindset. Like, what even is the mindset?
But I think that's because they have such access to our culture, and they do understand that pop culture and what everybody see, and you know, America is the head of that. They get it from us. So of course they want to be cool like us. So when and according to them, white people don't know the difference if they don't read their last name on a piece of paper. So once we start saying, you know, I mean, you can't feel left out of something that's not yours. So it's like, I mean, I guess I'm not an immigrant, so I don't understand trying to move to a foreign place and fit in, but it's like, why would you come here and make it about you when it's not even.
And how is that different from white people that be like, y'all leaving us out?
It's the exact same, except they think that because they have to come here and basically be us or try to be us to, I guess, grasp some kind of identity, that they feel entitled and they feel like we're supposed to include them. And it's not even like we're not including you. It's like, you don't know because it's not yours. It's not like, and we've been including them in the rest of the world. We're just now getting to a place where we're trying to tape around our culture. So it's just,
we're just now getting hip to the fact that everybody climbs on all over us. And steps on our neck and climbs on our back and our shoulders, and then leaves us down at the bottom and then looks back like, what are you doing down there?
Because you couldn't tell me a year ago the creators of the Shade Room weren't American. That blew my mind for like...
They're Nigerian, I think. See, I know that they're foreign Blacks. So many.
Where do you think child and all that come from?
So many of those people that's running the blogs, that's vloggers on YouTube, like that, they have their whole living their whole living bread and butter is made around talking about Black American culture. And a lot of people have also pointed out that you had this explosion of bloggers and stuff like that that sort of made a living out of amplifying maybe more stereotypical aspects of our culture.
Yep.
And what type of influence does that have, and what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Not that I get into respectability politics, because I don't, but it's an interesting conversation to have around what does it mean where on your blog that gets millions of fucking hits a day, if every single doctor you post is African, every single positive story you post is about a foreign Black, but every single negative story you post is about a Black American. You're forming a narrative around Black Americans. And that's your money, your bread and butter, your career is forming a negative narrative.
Yeah. And you're doing exactly what white media does.
Right.
So like even the weddings and stuff that they post, I rarely see American, I don't really follow them, but so I don't really, know 100%, but I rarely see Black American weddings up there. It's mostly, and that's because Black Americans aren't running it. But the least you could do is give us the respect that's owed, like out of the kindness of your heart, because it's not even like we were even asking for it the last few decades you guys arrived. So it's not, and it's just really frustrating. I think it's really the internet, thank you for Instagram, is really,
and I really do think it's like warping people's perceptions. Like I've gotten into so many arguments with people about rappers. I like rap. Everybody knows I like rap.
Right.
That's like my thing. I'm not a rap casual. Like rap is my thing. I've gotten into so many arguments with people where they were like, none of the rappers date Black women. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? And somebody was like, well, name 5 rappers off the top of your head that date Black women. And I'd be like, Young Thug and Jerica. Snoop and his wife. And Jerica's not even light skinned. Like, she is brown.
Yeah, LL Cool J.
I was like, Young Dolph and his wife, who's Black as fuck. They got like 2 kids, 2 Chainz and his wife. All the future baby mamas are Black.
All of them.
All 8 of them. They're all Black. Future does not mess with nothing but Black chicks. Now, take that or leave that however you want to take it. But like Nipsey Hussle and Lauren London is Black. Like, I don't care. Like, yes, because I know people are going to be like, well, Lauren London's biracial. But like Lauren London, in terms of getting back to even what we were talking about, in terms of like phenotype, she does not even present. Now, Lauren London is light-skinned, but she does not present as racially ambiguous. None of her features. Yara Shahidi, biracial, does not present as racially ambiguous. Tracee Ellis Ross, biracial, does not present as racially ambiguous. Tay Heckard, biracial, does not present as racially ambiguous. Tay Heckard was with Brandon Jennings, who's a basketball player. Like, a lot of the rappers, the athletes, all these people that people be like, no, they don't date Black women, they don't mess with Black women. I'd be like, yes, they do. You don't see it. You don't see it being represented on the blogs you follow. Is it a coincidence that the majority of these blogs are not even ran by Black Americans? They're creating a narrative. They're selling you a narrative because this is their career. And every time you click on it and you read it, you're buying it. You're buying the narrative. And if you're a descendant of American chattel slavery, if you're a Black American, you're buying that narrative from them, you know? And again, what does it mean when every single positive story that you post is a foreign Black and every single negative story you post is a Black American? Not to say that Black Americans don't do no shit, because we be into some shit, but we do positive things too, and foreign Blacks do negative things as well.
And this weird thing with them trying to take our ancestors and like Harriet Tubman and all, it's like you don't get to pick and choose the Black Americans that you don't get to fawn over Beyonce.
It is weird,
And in the same breath,
you don't get to, when you are appointed the head of diversity and inclusion for H&M North America, put the Nigerian flag up. But then when Beyonce does something, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's our girl. Pick a side.
Right. Pick a side. Like, what side are you going to be on? Now, if you want to be on the Black side, the Black American side,
I don't care.
Right.
But that means take that Nigerian flag out your bio. Take that Happy Independence Day Nigeria post down. If you're going to be on this American side, be on this
Right.
American side. Because we can't be nothing but what we are. And if you're going to be on the Nigerian side, big up Nollywood. Big up your Nigerian singers and actors. Big up.
They have
that
apparently
shit.
Nigerian housewives and all this other kind of like.
I wouldn't know. Do they? I wouldn't know because all they do is talk about American Negroes. They don't talk about themselves.
It was so crazy. I'm not 100% sure if it was a joke or not, but I really don't think it was. I came across it on YouTube, but most of them are married to like white men that's on the show.
Oh my God. Can we also talk about that? Because I also personally feel like...
Old, ugly white men.
I believe you. I also personally feel like that's a thing. You have foreign blacks, and especially foreign black women that are like super down for the swirl, that are, you know, making these YouTube channels, and they're making these blogs, and they're these pop culture this and that, and they're getting these followings, and they have these white husbands, and they're telling black American women, y'all gotta swirl and do this and that. Keep that over there.
Over there. I'm
good. I don't want to say like we don't do that over here, because like no offense to anybody that does that over here, but we don't really do that over here. Like that is not a thing really over here. And that's getting back to the history aspect, the ethnicity, culture, heritage aspect, because it's up until fairly recently, and still recently, like swirling in the United States was bad for your health, like quite literally. Like you will get killed, like you will get, like bad things will happen to you. And I even feel like in our culture, like if you bring a white girl home, if you bring a white girl over to the cookout, you have to be prepared for like your mom and your auntie. You can't bring a white person to my house, because my grandmother would be like, who is this cracker sitting at my table? She will not mince words. She will be like, who brought this white devil into my house? Like that's not something that's seen as acceptable in a lot of our families and in a lot of our culture, especially as being so, you know, recently removed from slavery, being so recently removed from Jim Crow, from segregation. You know, we don't like white people. Like
for good reason.
For very good reasons. And for the, again, for the most part, like we date within our race. And I feel like the vast majority of this like push for this like interracial, and especially with white people, has been coming from foreign blacks, men as well as women, that have sort of adopted these huge platforms and these huge media followings under the guise of we all black, so let me dispense this advice to you. And people don't know, like they don't know don't know that it's being ran by a foreign black that's giving them their foreign perspective. Like if the majority, because I think I read something like, don't hold me to this number, but I do think I read that something like 50% of like black men in Britain, black Brits, they marry like white women. It's like it's like a huge thing.
That is a whole thing.
It's like a thing.
British white, you know, I can't speak on it, but for so much because I'm not that familiar. But just a little bit that I've seen, even their shows and stuff, they're dynamic with race. Because like the show Bubblegum. Did you see the Netflix show?
I haven't seen it, no. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Weird.
I mean, I remember in Love Actually, which is like a Christmas movie that I do like, which came out like 10 to 15 years ago.
It's on Netflix, right?
I think it's on Netflix. Chiwetel is in it. I think his last name is like Ejiofor or something like that. He was in 12 Years a Slave. Chiwetel is in it. Keira Knightley, she's a British actress. Andrew Lincoln, who is Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. Chiwetel and Keira Knightley were like married. They were like getting married, and Andrew Lincoln is like Chiwetel's best friend. He's like in love with Keira Knightley, and so like that's like their because Love Actually is like a bunch of like different little like vignettes about love. And I remember watching it like, she's married to this black man. This is just in the movie. Like it's just in the movie. Like it's just in the movie. Like, oh, okay. And I saw it in the theater, so I was younger, and I can like remember being surprised. It's a thing. It's represented. It's depicted in their media. It's a thing over there. So then, if you are a black Brit, if you're a man, again, like a lot of their men are married to white women. A lot of their women, black British women, are also married to white men. So if you're a black Brit, you were growing up just in terms of the interracial dating, for example, you're growing up in a totally different dichotomy, in a totally different culture, a totally different history, a totally different understanding of what is acceptable versus what we see as acceptable over here in the United States. And then you make a blog, or you make an Instagram page, or you make a YouTube channel, and you getting all these millions of followers, you know, people that think, oh, you black like them, and you telling them, you showing off your white wife or your white husband, and you talking about swirling and this and that. You're giving American blacks advice, or again, you pushing a narrative from your British perspective, not our perspective.
Ours. And in Britain, there's no African American in Britain. When you, from what I understand, when you go, you're Nigerian, you're from whatever perspective country you're from. Nobody says Nigerian English or whatever it's called. And so it's a lot different there.
And I don't think I like that influence.
No.
Don't bring that over here. Keep that on your side of the pond.
No, thanks.
Because I feel like people don't even talk enough when we are talking about, like, people love talking about like biracial and like mix and this and that. But even if you are looking at a lot of the biracials, for example, like Jadena, who's biracial, like his father is like Nigerian and white mom from wherever she's from, Arkansas or wherever. Tanashi, her father is like a continental African. He might also be Nigerian, white mom. Obama, father from Kenya, white mom. Who's making these biracials that y'all talk about so bad all day? Talk about how the mixed people taking over. This ain't an American Negro problem. Y'all trying to make it our problem with all this influence that y'all have with the media and the blogs and the channels and this and pushing this narrative. I don't like that shit. Like, the only one that really comes to mind is like J. Cole. That's really the only one that comes to mind. But it'd be a lot of like, and even, I know that there's even like a few that have like Jamaican fathers, and like white moms are like also a thing. So it's just like, and then I know in Australia, there's a lot of, there's like a strong South Sudanese population in Australia. And you have a lot of black women with white men. Because
they're aspiring to something we've already spent centuries dealing with. We know white people aren't going to save us.
That's what I was thinking of. LMA. Her mother is Jamaican and her father is a white Brit. Zadie Smith, white teeth, I think Nobel Prize winner or Pulitzer Prize winner. Jamaican mom, white British father. And then they try to bring that over here.
And make it seem like, oh, black American men just hate black women in America.
That's not our problem. Don't be outsourcing your problems over here and try to make those our problems.
And even if there are some, you know, it's definitely not the majority.
No, and that's not acceptable.
But they're like, we've been with white people. We've been stuck with, we're from
next to them. We know them.
All the time. We know they're not going to save us. We know they're not going to help us.
We don't want to be around them.
They're going to use us for what they want. And then, of course, they get here and try to brown nose their way to the top.
And I was even talking with another, I think it might have been Marcy. Shout out to Marcy. We were even talking about how, like, how you said, for example, your grandmother was like white passing. My grandmother was like also white passing. My great grandmother white passing. How even for us, a lot of us are even like brown now. Because we have great grandparents or grandparents or even great great grandparents that were like direct products of slavery, that were direct products of rape, that are trying to even get away from that. And so they went out and married. I'm gonna find me the blackest man I could find. I'm gonna find me the blackest woman that I can find because I'm trying to get away from that. And again, that gets back to our specific history here, our heritage here, our culture here, our ethnicity here. We have a totally different understanding of race, of blackness, of skin color, colorism, you know, all these things of interracial dating. Like, I was talking to one of my friends, one of my male friends, he was like, ever since I was young, I don't even like being around white girls. He was like, because whenever I would be around white girls, I would feel like I was gonna get in trouble. I would feel like something was gonna happen to me. So I don't even like being around white girls. He was like, none of the niggas that I know even like being around white girls. And so it's just like, and then this narrative that's pushed, you know, like, well, the rappers and the sports and the successful. But then it's like, you can go look it up. And it's like, most of these people actually do have black wives, girlfriends, or black, husbands and boyfriends and the way that we do things in our culture, because there's that idea even of if you be around white people too much, something bad is going to happen. That's a holdover that we carry, right. And they don't understand that.
Yeah.
I've even talked to people that have said like, I've had like even Black immigrants and children of Black immigrants say to me like, in a lot of their culture, they're raised to see, especially with a lot of continental Africans, they're raised to see white people as their peers. They send them to school in Europe, the ones that have money, they send them to school in Britain, they send them to boarding schools where they might be the only Black person. They are raised to see white people as their peers. They're raised to see whiteness even as something to aspire to.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, you can't bring home a Black American, but you could bring home a white person. Right. That's seen as like, right. And you hit the jackpot.
That's foreign to me, and it's really weird to me because that's where
to us it's the opposite. It's like, I can bring this white bitch over here.
Right. So that's where people say, with the acting Black thing, and that's where that comes from. Oh, you're not acting Black, or you're not talking, because we understand we didn't have the luxury of seeing white people as our peers, even, subtly, being taught that
or they wanted to see them as our peers.
Right. Or because we don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, and growing up, I was, grew up in an area that's predominantly Black. So, a lot of that stuff I didn't have to deal with, thank God. And nobody aspires to whiteness. White people don't aspire to whiteness. So it's really confusing to me that they see them, I don't know. It's the way they were raised.
It's the way they were raised. And something that I think when we talk about a lot of continental Africans, the difference between slavery versus colonization. I think there is a difference. We were enslaved. We have a different understanding of white people.
Right.
Because of that. They were colonized. And I have even had continental Africans say something to me, which kind of offended me, but it also blew my mind. I've had continental Africans say to me, like, there are times that I wish that, like, my people were enslaved instead of colonized. And I was like, what?
What kind of sick train of thought
like I
is
said,
that?
I was like, it kind of offended me, but it also blew my mind. I was like, what? Why would you say that?
Because they really think.
And they were, well, the reason that they gave me for it, they were like, because colonization was so insidious. They were like, slavery was just like in your face, like your property, like you're an animal, like your thing, sort of like that white people showed us their true faces type shit.
Right.
And they were like, meanwhile in Africa we were colonized and we got the Bible and we got this, you know, because like a lot of like, especially a lot of like Nigerians and shit, like they love they love white Jesus and they love God like down to the depths of
I didn't know that was a thing
soul.
Either.
Like they truly
crazy preaching, and I didn't know that was a thing for a while.
They truly like love white religion. It's a lot. And this person was just like, you know, like we were colonized and we are still to this day like we're suffering from colonized minds. Like they will name their kids like Elizabeth and Mary, and because they were colonized to believe that like this is what you have to do. You have to aspire to whiteness. This is what you have to do. And they're still now raising their children that way, and they're still doing that now in their culture. You have to aspire to whiteness. If you can, marry whites, get into these fields, doctor, lawyer, engineer, that's gonna run you in certain circles around white people. Like, white is right. Like, and that is what they believe.
Right.
Because of colonization. And for us, it's like, don't trust them white people because of slavery. Totally opposite ends of the spectrum, which is also wild when they say that they could be us. Like, no, you can't. You can't. You cannot. And they're still holding on to, in addition to just like the white is right ideas about stereotypes and stereotypes of Black Americans and stereotypes about slavery and just all these different, again, results of having a colonized mind that they're still dealing with. And that also, again, makes it even more insidious when they come here and say they're the same as us, and then they get into these positions with these mindsets.
To try to speak for us.
And to, again, put out narratives and stuff like that. Like, nah, you don't get to speak for us, and y'all don't get to speak for us anymore. You don't get to claim that you're us. You don't get to speak for us. Speak for yourself.
Yep.
And I just feel like, too, like, people need to be more upfront from jump. Like, the amount of people that hit me up saying, like, I didn't know LMA was British.
I didn't either. Till literally I heard saw your video about it. Yeah. I did not know she was British.
I didn't know LMA was British. And then even if we start talking about her parents, because people say, like, oh, well, she's mixed. Oh, you see mixed girls, this and this and this. And then I'd be like, well, her mom is Jamaican and her dad is British.
Right.
And she's British. So that don't have nothing to do with America? Nothing. And then they'd be like, oh, I didn't know. Why do you think you didn't know? Why do you think that part of the narrative is being kept from you? Why do you think you could watch a whole 45-minute video on YouTube about colorism where LMA is the subject, and not at one point in the video will they mention that she's British and that her mom is Jamaican and her father is a white Brit? And what does that mean? And what does that even mean in terms of the importing of not only mixed and light-skinned and biracial artists, because that is a thing. Not going to say it's not. But in addition to that, she's foreign. She's not just a mixed biracial. She's
foreign,
She's also foreign. Right. How come that part is not discussed?
Because at the end of the day, biracial Americans were still slaves. Yeah. So they have a closer, viewpoint on being Black American than other people, even if they have the privilege of being biracial or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's a big
I've seen
difference.
People say, like, why does J. Cole talk so bad about white people? His mom is white.
Because he's raised, and they literally...
And he's from North Carolina.
Right. And he lives in Cary, which is like 20 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So he's like...
I was like, I'm sure he's been called his fair share of little nigger baby.
Right.
He knows what's up. Like,
especially because he's subjected to more whiteness than I was.
Yeah.
Because I have 2 Black parents and I was raised around mostly Black people. So he probably by his own grandfather, he was probably called
by his own mother.
Right.
Because his mother was white, and he said she was a mean ass drunk that used to get drunk and abuse him.
And apparently that's like a thing with them white parents calling their biracial kids niggers. Yeah.
I believe it.
Like, and it's just weird. But as far as like the foreign Black people, I just think that they come and they aspire to a whiteness that we already know.
And should. I mean, it's not to say that you don't have descendants of American chattel slavery that are coons. Charlemagne. You definitely have DACS that are coons, for sure. Right. But I definitely feel like there's less Black Americans that are coons, and I feel like the Black Americans that are coons and are cooning, that's even part of why they get these platforms. Jason Whitlock. That's even part of why they get these platforms.
But it's the same reason why Black China has to go to Lagos or however you say Nigeria to sell her bleaching cream. It's the same reason.
Yeah, same thing. I'm going to do a video, not about that specifically, but I'm going to do like another video where I like talk about, because I've been thinking for months about like, I've been thinking of it in terms of like problems and insourcing and outsourcing problems, sort of because we have this whole idea of like melting pot Black diaspora at this point. Oh, we're all the same. It's like skin bleaching creams, for example, really are not a problem in the United States.
It's not.
That's not something you can openly use and it's acceptable.
No.
You cannot do that.
I've never really seen skin bleaching creams in the store.
People will accuse you of using skin bleaching creams as an insult in the United States. Like, I think she bleaching. Like,
right.
I think she...
you're not trying to be Black? No,
exactly.
You don't,
that's not seen as acceptable. But in other places, like in Nigeria, since you used as an example with the Black China thing, that is seen as acceptable. You can openly do it. You can openly use it. Now, so that's a problem in Nigeria.
But I thought y'all were proud.
Right. I thought y'all were like the real Blacks.
It's a huge problem.
But if under this whole we all Black umbrella, for example, so somebody Nigerian can get on YouTube and make a video and be like, this is the Black people problem. And now that's all our problems?
Right.
nah, that's not our problem.
Because I don't know anybody who's bleached.
I don't know anybody who's bleached either.
So it's not like
I said, I remember there was whispers about Tiana Taylor bleaching, that she got her nose done and that she bleached. And she addressed it. She went on Instagram and was like, I am not bleaching.
Oh, you don't bleach in America.
She was like, I'm brown skin. I have like whatever type of yellow undertones in my skin. So I always look paler in the winter. Like, cause that's an insult. That's not even something you want people whispering rumors. That's not seen as something that's acceptable in our country, in our DACS culture. Now, in another Black culture, because I know it's also a big issue in the Caribbean. Now, in another culture, it's a big issue with Black people in DR. Like Sammy Sosa was bleaching and stuff like that. In other cultures throughout the Black diaspora, that's a problem. But again, in sense of this, I've been thinking of it, and this is what I was really probably going to say in my video. Azealia Banks, who is a broken clock, like she's only right twice a day. But when she's right, she's right. The rest of the time, I don't know. But she had used the term cultural smudging, referring to Iggy Azalea and cultural appropriation. And I've been sort of thinking in terms of like ethnic smudging and just like the smudging of ethnicities. So it's like, well, you can make your problems with skin bleaching our problems because we're all Black.
Right.
You can make your problems with interracial dating our problems because we're all Black. And then by that same token, though, you can make our heroes or our positives, like Harriet Tubman, your positives, because we all Black. No, you're not about to take my positive shit and give me your negative shit. What type of energy exchange is this?
But when it's time to be in the welfare line, then it's just us.
Yeah, no.
And like the whole, it's like everything negative is associated with us, and then everything positive is you have dibs on that.
Right.
No, if you want Harriet Tubman, if you want Martin Luther King, you got to take NWA and you got to take crack and all. You got to take it all. You don't get to take the parts of it that you want.
And the language is specific. Like, again, when the girl got appointed the head of H&M Diversity, the Nigerian flag was there, right? Like, it's like very much like Nigerian, right? Like the language is specific, but then when it's something else, it will be Black. Just Black or Black American, you know, going back to skin bleaching. Oh, skin bleaching is a Black problem. If we're gonna be specific, let's be specific. That's a problem, that's a Nigerian problem. That's a Caribbean problem. That's
Americans
a this problem. That's a that problem.
Not bleach like that.
No, we really don't. And so I do think that that's also a part of why it's like really important to start getting more strict with our culture and with our ethnicity and with some of these boundaries, because it's blurred lines.
Right.
And it's making for a lot of confusion. And again, when we start talking about people that have all this influence, especially in terms of the media and influencing people's ideas and their thought processes and the way that they're thinking even about what it is to be Black or to be a Black American in DACS, like, you're not about to like infect the minds of like the DACS community with problems that's not even, we got our own problems and we got enough of them. You're not about to infect our minds with like more issues that's not even ours. Like, I have decided I'm not with that shit. Like,
skin bleaching is not a fight that's ours. Like, that's not a problem that we have. So I don't even know why. And it's like everybody expects us to take on everybody's fight, including put our fight to the back burner.
Even outside of Black people, like literally everyone, every race, every ethnicity, everyone. Like, people really think we are like the mules of the whole world.
Right.
We got to put everybody on our back and carry them to the promised land.
And just like the crazy rich Asian thing, and I saw that before I saw your video, and I didn't really think about it, but it's like everybody, you know, want to, everything negative is Black American, but the girl who apparently was a rapper, the Asian girl that was the Black person on the show, it's like, it's cute when you do it, but when we do it, it's scary, and we're like so angry. So it's,
and I would say that for me personally, this is also why I think it's cultural appropriation. I feel like that's the same with the foreign Blacks. Like Issa Rae, who has a Senegalese parent.
I didn't know she
got a Senegalese parent, and to me, she looks Senegalese. I don't think she looks Black American at all. That's just me. Issa Rae gets in the mirror, talk about broken pussy, yay,
that
broken pussy.
Was so
and it's
weird
cute, and it's cute and funny. You know, Yvonne Orji, weird ass, gets in the mirror talking about this and that, and it's cute and funny and da 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 da.
First of all, that like, and I never could really pinpoint what I did not like about Insecure, because I tried to watch Insecure a few times before I actually finished it. I was like, what black girl actually sits in front of the mirror every morning and raps in front of the mirror that's not trying to become a rapper and not you start your day
it's not honing her craft,
right? Like you're starting your everyday rapping about, and just the whole concept of being insecure is like not really something. I mean, I guess that's what ties into her awkward black girl, is that she's different from the rest of us.
And I mean, and I don't mind that. Like, I thought awkward black girl was cool. I thought awkward black girl was cool. Like, I remember when Issa Rae was on YouTube. Like, I respect her YouTube hustle, and like I respect her getting all the way to HBO. Like, cool. Yeah. Like, kudos to you as a creative. But Insecure is not awkward black girl.
And how many American black people is actually in that show?
I think I don't know her name.
The bigger
girl. A couple of the guys. I think Lawrence. And I think there was like a light-skinned guy that was. Okay. But I even know a lot of like black American men that were like, oh, Lawrence is like sort of like a stereotypical depiction of like black American males. Like, he don't have no job, and he don't want to get a job, and he's sleeping on Issa's couch, and he ain't shit. He's an ain't shit ass nigga. And I think it was maybe like another black American man that was like married, but he was trying to like have sex with their other friend. Like, a lot of issues that people even had with the show was that they felt like it was depicting a lot of like black American stereotypes.
And they clearly weren't really depicting it correctly, because even their dynamic as friends are super
weird.
Who would live with a complete, like, a random ex that they weren't even together, so it wasn't even an ex, over your friend? That whole, because it would make you feel bad. That whole thing with her not having anywhere to stay, and she didn't want to stay with Yvonne Orji's character, so she ended up staying with some guy she used to sleep with, and like the whole thing was weird. The African American vernacular was weird.
I felt like it was a minstrel show that made a lot of people upset. Fuck all y'all. It was. I felt like it was a minstrel show. I felt like, and I think a lot of people don't know what like a minstrelsy, I always pronounce that wrong, but which is, and that black people can participate in minstrel shows. I think a lot of people think of minstrel shows as just like white people in blackface, like eating watermelon, but like black people also used to participate, especially in like traveling ones. Black people also used to participate, and it's just like the depiction of a caricature of blackness. Whatever you take that to mean, it does not have to mean a white person in blackface shucking and jiving and eating watermelon. Like, no. And I feel like Insecure is a minstrel show. I feel like it is a caricature of blackness. It is their depiction of, and now maybe I don't think that they mean it in a malicious way.
Right.
But I have a whole video on intent versus impact. You have to weigh your impact against your intent and see which one is winning out at all times. So I don't think they intend for it to come across in a malicious way, but I do think that the show is a caricature. It is a depiction of what in their minds they think black American 20-something or 30-something, millennials in LA talk and act, and this is how they're living, and this is what they're doing. And
a lot of people from LA I've seen in the comments, it's just like, we're nothing like that in LA, and it's the whole thing is weird, them trying to like be, and I really don't understand why they don't think, if our culture is second to everybody else's, why won't you tell your stories?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people have also been telling me that Yvonne Orji got a comedy pilot show like greenlit that's called First Gen, that is going to be about her experience as a first gen immigrant, a child of immigrants in this country. But my thing with that is, you got Insecure because a piece was just going around about this. It said that Yvonne Orji got that lead role on Insecure with like no agent, no prior acting experience, like no. So it's like you got Insecure where you play Molly, who is a very sexually promiscuous Black American woman, descendant of American chattel slavery, which a lot of people felt like that was a stereotype. So it's like you got this role, which basically catapulted you into celebrity without any prior experience, without a manager. It was a somewhat stereotypical role where you're playing a sexually promiscuous Black American woman. There's nothing wrong with sex, nothing wrong with liking sex, having a lot of sex, being sexually promiscuous. I'll have no issues with that. But what people are trying to say is, it's like, number one, maybe this role was pitched to like 5 Black American actresses before that maybe they had an issue with, say, the writing, or maybe they had an issue with the dialogue, or maybe they said this is stereotypical, or maybe they said I would like to be depicted in a different way, and so they turned it down. And then you got it. You don't give a fuck because you're not you don't care. You're not a DACS. You don't care. You're on this show for ever many years, 3-4 years. You use this as a vehicle, which is what they do. They use Black American culture as a vehicle to something else. You use it as a vehicle to become more famous, use it as a vehicle to get a little bit of money, and now you can do your first gen show. And now you're making these posts on Instagram that's like, you know, when it's you and 3 other Nigerians in the writing room, not Black people, not you and 3 other Black people in the writing room, you and 3 other Nigerians in the writing room. But 2 years ago, when people were saying, is this role of Molly appropriate? You were saying, we all Black is fine. You see the double dipping and the double dutching in and out and the using of Black American culture and everything as this vehicle to other things. That's what makes it, again, the cultural appropriation aspect, the minstrel show aspect, the ethnic smudging aspect. Like, what are you doing?
But that's why they get offended when we put caution tape around, because if we put caution tape around our culture and they no longer have access to us to step on, we're pulling the rug from under them.
Because now you can't use this culture as your vehicle to fucking superstardom in your own show and shit anymore. Now you have to fucking work. Just like we had to work to get our representation in Hollywood, now you have to fucking work. Oh, now all of a sudden it's the mean Black Americans kicking you out. Do work, son.
And they're mad at, saying goes. And they're mad at like Black Panther for it being, you know, well, why aren't you guys didn't get an all African cast? This is America. Hollywood is in California.
Wakanda is fictional.
Wakanda is a fictitious place.
If you can get a whole cast of Wakandans, I would love to see it. I want to watch it. Challenge to whoever's watching. I want to see it.
Find some Wakandans.
Find the cast.
And
I will throw my money at the screen.
So it's just like the whole like we can depict what we want. If I have to cast and produce and make a movie, I can do what I want in my country. If that's an actual argument, then you should be in Nigeria or you should be in England trying to fight, London or wherever, trying to fight for your place. I mean, and
there weren't even that many Black Americans in Black Panther. When people say that the whole cast of Black Panther was Black American or DACS, I'd be like, no, Lupita is not a DACS. Denai Guerrero is not a DACS. Daniel Kaluuya is not a DACS. He's a Black Brit. Letitia Wright, who was Shuri, is not a DACS. She's a Black Brit.
I did not know that.
Letitia Wright is British. Shout out to Black Mirror. That's where I first ever saw her, on Black Mirror. She's a Black Brit. Like, I was like, Winston Duke, who was in Baku, he is a Black Brit. Like,
I just found that out the other day, like literally 2 days ago.
Of that whole cast was not Black American. So when people say that, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, now Chadwick Boseman was a DACS. Michael B. Jordan, Angela Bassett, and Forrest Whitaker. That's it. Now, maybe because they feel like those are the main characters, why, but I don't know.
The dad, Michael B. Jordan. Is he foreign?
No.
He's American.
He's American. He's amazing. Sterling Brown.
I love him.
Amazing. He was amazing on the O.J. Simpson shit. He would give him all the awards, but he was only in the shit for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I was just like, y'all saying that the whole majority of the cast was DACS, number one, that's a lie. Like, that's a false narrative. We can like nip that in the bud from there. I'm not even gonna like entertain that because that's not even true. If anything, it was an even mix, maybe like 4 and 4, like 5 and 5. And yeah, like you said, it was an American production. It was made in Hollywood. It had a Black American director. Wakanda is fictional.
It's not real, guys.
The original Black Panther comic was written by Stan Lee, who's white, who recently passed away. Like, there's a lot of stuff we could get into in the unpacking of Black Panther, but I don't know. Africans especially have decided that, like, Black Panther is their thing. And I actually had somebody tell me recently, they said that they wish Black Panther never even came out because they were like, they feel like Black Panther sort of gave Africans the right. They felt like it gave them the right to get bold with us and talk all this shit to us, and without any type of understanding of the facts of who made the movie and where it was made and who was even in it and who directed it.
Right.
Now they just be like, oh, y'all want to be African, Black Panther, Black Panther, Black Panther, Black Panther, Black Panther. Which, if y'all watch my review, I didn't hate Black Panther, but I didn't even like Black Panther like that.
I was highly disappointed.
I was disappointed.
I will argue that I was pissed.
You know,
I was really upset.
You know, every single Black American descendant of American chattel slavery that I have talked to, every single Black American that I have talked to has said that. Every single one. They said that they went in expecting something else, that they left upset, pissed off, angry, disappointed.
You're talking to the person who sat for 2 hours watching trailers of Black Panther.
Why do you think that is?
I was angry from the beginning, from the scene with the dad, because the gist of the movie was the guy who was in Compton or wherever, I want to help Black Americans. I want to give us some power across. We're not going to do it. But then you let a white man come into the epicenter of Wakanda. A CIA agent. Did
you see my review?
Yes.
I was going off.
Yes.
For like 45 minutes. I was like, and another thing.
Was pissed because I went with one of my friends or whatever, and I was like, and she was pissed too. I was like, I was so angry at that movie. I was angry at the way they depicted first of all, not to get too much into this movie, but what's his name?
Go ahead.
The little short one, Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan, yeah.
First of all, that's literally your flesh and blood. Mm-hmm. You killed your flesh and blood. He killed the dad. You kill your cousin. Mm-hmm. But then the end of the movie, you open the doors to the United Nations. Mm-hmm.
And there was a post-credit scene with Bucky healing there, white guy.
Right. What do you think? Looking at white people's history, what do you think they're going to do with access to that?
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do? Yeah. They're going to take it and they're going to take it over. But you kill your literal relatives because he wanted to help black people in America. That movie pissed me off so bad. Yes. Wakanda for never.
For never.
Hashtag Wakanda
for never. No. I felt the same way. I felt like the whole movie had an undercurrent of that Black Americans ain't shit. That
they really got our dynamic right with Africa, though.
Yeah. That we are angry, which I'm angry, so that's fine. That we are violent, that we are hot-tempered, again, that we are uncouth, like the whole depiction of Michael B. Jordan of Killmonger, like, for example, and I even said in my video, I was like, for example, Killmonger is supposed to be somebody that graduated from MIT at like the age of 19, which would make him obviously a prodigy, an intellectual genius. We don't see any type of statistical intelligence, any type of planning.
His mom, where was his mother?
We didn't see his Black American mother. His Black American girlfriend didn't get no lines and got killed very viciously.
Let's talk about the discipline. The discipline it takes to plan that his entire life to go to Wakanda and succeed.
Yeah. And got there.
And yeah.
I just felt like the whole, there was a lot of just underlying issues that I had with the movie and the depiction. And even at the end, I'm gonna have to include links in the description box because we're talking about a lot of old videos. And even at the end, when it's like, the Black Panther buys the buildings and they're gonna set up. So even that, I feel like there was this idea of Africa needs to come save us.
That pissed me off.
The kids are like, let's break it apart and sell it.
Because people really think putting youth centers in the ghetto is what people need.
Yeah.
You should have let your uncle bring whatever that vibranium. You should have, armed black people in America.
Yeah.
Putting a center for black kids to play basketball is not going to help anything.
You know, that's all us Americans want.
Niggers want
is to play basketball.
Niggas don't want to do nothing but play
all
basketball.
All and put a ball in our hands.
And that's all they were doing. The kids were doing the whole time in the movie. We're playing basketball.
I had a lot of problems. And even that final scene of the CIA agent Ross like shooting down the warships. I said in my video, I was like, you guys realize what we just watched? We just watched black piloted, because like all the people in the ships were black. I was like, we just watched black piloted ships that were taking weapons to black Americans and to black people all over the world to rise up against their oppressors. We just watched those black piloted ships be shot down by a white CIA officer. And that was framed as that's what we're supposed to be rooting for.
Yeah. But let's not
forget. There was some subliminals that I was not with.
So let's not forget and pretend that white people don't understand the dynamic. They created the dynamic, so they understand it. And I don't know if the black people, they might have, were they like the producers? Or because they couldn't have been the writers if this is like an
I don't know. Ryan Coogler directed it, and I respected his direction. I think he might have wrote it or wrote some of it too. But even in interviews, Ryan Coogler comes across as one of those like DACS that's like, I'm lost in the world. I don't have no home. Right. I don't have no heritage. I don't have no culture. I need to go back to Africa and connect to my roots. And I felt like that perspective came across really heavily in the movie of we need Africa to save us. And this is everything that's wrong with us, and we need Africa to come save us type shit. And when we try to save ourselves, it's the problem type shit. I had a lot of issues with what I felt were the underlying messages. I don't think that movie gave a good message to black people.
It didn't.
Especially black Americans.
We were all pissed, so it wasn't.
Every black American that I talked to said that they were angry and disappointed after leaving, which was like a total opposite reaction to especially like the continental Africans that just like ate it up and loved it. Like I did this talk on with Al Jazeera Plus. And I was just like, nah, like, I'm not with it. And people were like, well, the representation, and when have you seen superhero representation, which I also didn't like because I also love comic books. I'm super like speculative fiction, sci-fi, fantasy. That's my shit. That's my genre of choice. Superhero movies, like, I've been on that since like 2003. And all these people were saying like, well, this was the first black superhero movie. And I love this movie so much because the representation of black superheroes. I was like, y'all better put some motherfucking respect on Robert Townsend's name right now. Up and Away.
That was my favorite movie back in the day, in the 90s
Blade?
Or whatever.
Well, Wesley Snipes? That's a comic book movie. That was made by Marvel. It was the first Marvel movie that did well and even sort of like kicked off the whole MCU.
Right.
Like Blade with Wesley Snipes, Meteor Man, and Up and Away with Robert Townsend, Blank Man with the Wayans brothers.
Yes, Blank Man was really funny.
Blank Man used to be really my shit. Like I was like, when I was still on Twitter before I got banned, around the time that Black Panther had came out, and I had seen all these people that was like, first black superhero movie. I'm so happy to finally see representation. And then I was just like, you guys are leaving out like whole swaths of classic black American DACS superhero movies and cinema that we made ourselves. Like Robert Townsend was writing, directing, producing, using his own money, all those movies himself. The Wayans brothers were writing, producing, starring in, directing, putting their own money, all those movies themselves. Like Wesley Snipes had to fight for like every single movie that he was in. Michael Jai White and Spawn. These people had to like fight to be in these movies and to create this superhero representation for those of us that were growing up, you know, black in the United States, especially in the 90s, you know, and we were seeing this type of representation. But it's just like, since it's a depiction of black Americans, there was like no Africans involved. No, we don't care, since so much of it was depicted in inner cities. I felt a lot of people didn't like the urban. A lot of it was about like inner city crime, urban crime. Blank Man and the Meteor Man also both talked a lot about
suburbia,
but like Blank Man and like the Meteor Man both talked a lot about inner cities and like urban communities and like black Americans sort of taking back control of our communities and like fighting crime ourselves.
But that's a problem for everybody.
Nobody likes to see that. And then I was then when I started naming, I was like naming superhero movies. People were like, oh, that's urban. That doesn't count. Oh, that was a comedy. Oh, it doesn't count. Oh, black man, he doesn't have powers. It doesn't count. I was like, bitch, Iron Man doesn't have powers. Batman does not have powers.
They're both. I hate them too. They're both literal rich douchebags.
I love Batman.
I love old Batman. I just hate.
I hate Ben Affleck as Batman.
I hate Ben Affleck.
We don't speak.
I love Michael Keaton.
Who? We don't speak of that. We don't speak of that.
That's the one I hate. I love Batman.
No, I love Batman, but Ben Affleck, we pretend he doesn't exist. I love Batman because I feel like that's what I would do if I had like millions of dollars. Like I too would dress up as a bat and fight crime to deal with my emotional disturbances. Like I can relate. Totally, completely, definitely. But it's just like people were saying all these things to discredit the Black American superhero movies and comic book movies, or again, the stuff that was set in the inner cities. There was a lot of like weird respectability politics happening. I was like, you guys like Black Panther because number one, it's set in Africa.
Yep.
We're rich.
And it looked like we need you.
Yeah, it looks like we need you. It's this whole idea of African royalty and monarchy because he's the prince and people latch on to that monarchy fucking shit. Like, I was like, it's a lot. I was like, y'all doing too much, and I don't even want to be a part of this.
And I only watched it once. Everybody was like, I watched it 2 and 3.
I saw it twice.
No, once was enough.
I saw it twice. Yeah, people were talking about they watched it 9 times, 11 times. I was just like, it wasn't even that good of a movie to be watching it all them times. I mean, it only seems that good because all the rest of the movies in the MCU outside of Iron Man are some trash, and like, I don't know, Thor are some fucking trash. Right. But it's a lot. There was just a lot, like I said, of discrediting of Black American cinema, our contributions to the comic book genre, our contributions to the speculative fiction genre, just everything. Just, again, this erasure, this smudging, this trying to wipe us out and get rid of what we've done and get rid of our narrative and to take control of our narrative.
And I'm really hoping more people, I think Black people are waking up to
slowly.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like, I wouldn't call Ryan Coogler a coon. I don't think Ryan Coogler is a coon, and I really respect him as a creative. I really do, because he's a Black director, and it's just like not enough Black writer directors. But sort of like how I said earlier, like in the Black Americans that you do see even get these platforms, they have this perspective. Mm-hmm. Ryan Coogler has that perspective of we're broken and lost. Right. And so he got a platform, you know? Right. And then it's like, for those of us that want to tell other narratives and other stories, we don't get a platform. Again, like the Robert Townsends of the world, we got to make our own platform.
Because all they want us to do is be silent and keep creating new stuff for them to steal.
Basically.
And no.
I guess we've decided we've had enough of that.
Yeah, we're over it.
We're over it.